Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Love Hour podcast. I'm your host, MrsKevOnStage, and I'm joined by my husband and co-host,
the Kev on Stage.
And we're back. It'll just be us two for a little while.
I like that.
I think people are enjoying it too, oddly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it'll be that way for a little while. But if you're new here, we are marriage... What do I say?
Marriage champions.
Marriage champions.
Peons.
We do not have degrees, licenses, or anything.
Degrees?
We do have a degree, but not in like LMFT-ness.
And I use degree deodorant. Keeps me fresh.
Degree deodorant does not work. I said what I said. I said what I said. It does not
Debatable.
work. Do you really like it?
Yeah.
Do you really?
Yes.
I don't think it works at all. But I'm also like a sweater, and I don't think that it doesn't turn up as you turn up or whatever the little...
You stop lying on Degree right now.
It doesn't do what it claims. It doesn't
Degree
work.
brand deal us out, so she'll change her tune.
No, Certain Dry brand deal me out. That works.
Certain Dry mean you ain't got that WAP.
That's true. And under my arms, I don't want nothing to be moist.
Have a wet coochie, not wet underarms.
I don't want none of that. Shoot. But
Certain Dry is way better than Degree.
Yeah.
A couple of times I ran out of deodorant and I used yours, my pores be like,
that works for 3 days.
Yeah, it does.
It's fantastical. I love it. You don't like it? You've tried Certain Dry?
I have. I used to use Degree. Now I'm just an Old Spice guy, you know.
Old Spice?
Yeah, man.
With the blue or the white?
With the blue. The white.
The blue?
Yeah, man.
Wait, what's the difference between the blue and the white?
The blue is like...
I keep it on me, though. It's in my backpack right now.
You know, the blue is like the wet deodorant.
Oh.
That burned me right here.
It's too strong.
Oh,
right here.
I don't like that.
I didn't. The whole antiperspirant thing always creeped me out. Like, why is it making me not sweat? So I was just like,
Josh ain't never been musty on my watch.
no,
You don't like
keep that thing on me. It's literally in my backpack right now.
So you want to sweat? You just don't want to stink when you sweat.
I don't want to stink when I sweat.
Oh, I don't want none of it.
Okay.
I like stinking. I smell like a man.
I don't want to stink.
Some
I
days
don't want
I'll
to
be
sweat.
like,
I don't want none of it.
You a man, Kev. You musty, bald, billy goat, stinking man. Men need to stink. Matthew McConaughey don't even wear deodorant.
Men need to stink?
Mm-hmm. That pheromones back out in the wild, when you was musty, that woman like,
we're not in the wild.
We
don't
still got
animal. No
we got the
stinks.
animal tendency. Like,
you lying.
Yeah. Protect the pride. Defend the pack. You're the lion, man.
This is off for me. Hold on. This is what I want. Okay.
Ooh, so
I don't think that's accurate, but whatever. Certain Dry is the business. If you are a sweater like me, I'd recommend Certain Dry. You can get the roll-on that you put on once.
This ain't even a brand, though. She really just likes
No,
this.
it's amazing. And it works for like 3 days. And then you get the every morning one, and you can put that on every morning or every other morning. And if you do laser hair removal like me and you can't put deodorant on after you get it, Certain Dry comes in the clutch. That's all I'm saying.
Pay us for this free advertisement.
Brand deal me up, Certain Dry. Okay, but we're not marriage counselors or anything like that. We are just simply here to share our experiences as a married couple, a young married couple. Although I'm starting to realize that young is relative, because you definitely feel young, or I feel young, but
are we even young people anymore?
I'm certainly closer to 40.
I don't feel like we're young anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I use that because I've always felt that way, but you start realizing how quickly time happens and you're no longer like young.
Josh is young.
Josh is young.
I don't know if we're old, but I just think we are alive.
We're middled.
We're between young and old.
That's middle. We're middle age.
People don't say that.
I don't think
middle age is 50.
Yeah, we're not middle age.
No, I'm saying the middle between young and old, not middle age. Oh, we're not old either though. Old is like my grandma.
But what's between young and old?
We're
not
quarter
middle
age. We're quarter. Never mind. I don't know. We're young adjacent. Someone in Patreon said we're young adjacent.
We're young-ish. So what we want to do today, if you've been following us, we've been raving about this book, The Big Leap, which I almost think I booked them, but then the lady stopped responding.
Gay Hendricks?
I need to follow up with her today. Like, hey, yo, so listen, I like totally responded back to you. I'm just waiting for you to be like, yeah, girl, that's the date. But we've been reading this book called The Big Leap. What?
I meant to talk to you and Josh about this, but Dang, I don't want to mess up what you were saying.
About?
But I meant to talk. It's about the big leap.
Okay.
In the Toyota.
Okay.
I'll just say it quickly.
Okay.
Because I meant to talk about while Josh was setting up. So you remember how I was always like, I don't want to get the Corolla. I'm going to stay with it. And I was thinking, because
you don't want to get rid of the Corolla.
Don't want to get rid of it. This is before the Maserati.
Yeah.
Before the Lord has shown me what he wants for me in my life. And then I was thinking about the big leap. And I was like, wait a second. Am I wanting to hold on to the Corolla so I can stay a regular guy? One of the people. I drive a paid off car. Hey guys, my life isn't that different. I just have a regular car that's a 09. I'm not something nothing. What?
I'm letting you finish.
No, it's not to buy a car. It's to keep the Corolla.
Oh, okay.
You turned off because you thought I was saying something.
I didn't know where this was going.
No, I was thinking maybe the having the Corolla was me saying I'm just a regular guy.
Oh, okay.
I'm not any different than anybody else. I drive an 09. It's paid off. I don't have a fancy car. I'm one of the people. And maybe that's why I kept, hanging on to it when we could have had a different car for a lot longer. I was asking myself, is that part of the reason that I held on to it for so long is to keep my life there where it was. And then I got into that car today and the AC didn't work. And I was like, there's no version of me that will sit in a hot car. I don't care about nothing.
Does get hot.
It doesn't have to be a Maserati. But I'm not going to sit in a hot car for nobody, no nothing. So when I drop this off at Toyota tomorrow, if he come back with anything other than $800, the car is gone.
Okay, so to introduce this idea and this topic, so we've been reading the book Big Leap, as you said, or as I said earlier, and it is my book of the month for my book club. Make sure that you join. I'll make sure to include a note or ask Greg to include a note in the description box. But there's this quote that's in the book and I want to read it. And we are on our way to the comedy show this weekend. Me, Greg, Joshua, and my sister had a really great conversation about essentially this quote. And I thought it would be a really great idea to talk about it on the podcast. And I think it kind of ties to last week's conversation as well. Okay, so this is the quote. Each of us has an inner thermostat setting that determines how much we love, success, and creativity we allow ourselves to enjoy. When we exceed our inner thermostat setting, we will often do something to sabotage ourselves, causing us to drop back into the old familiar zone where we feel secure. Okay.
That's good.
Okay, I want to make sure I said it slow enough so everybody was able to
That's big leap
take
energy.
it in and digest the quote.
Yeah.
Okay, so what we were talking about on Saturday was this idea that we all have our capacity limits more than just what I love about this book as a whole. And I'll say this because I've said this many times, is that the book, when Kevin was first telling me about the book, he was talking about it in terms of my talent. So he's like, Melissa, you need to read the book because you got so much in you, yada, 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 yada. You need to do this because, you have so much more in you. So it's all about like your success and in terms of talent. Yeah. But one thing that I thought was really awesome about the book is that he's talking about capacity limits and this thermostat setting that extends beyond just success.
Yeah.
So he's also talking about our capacity to receive love. Our capacity to receive and experience happiness.
Yes.
Those are like really deep
Absolutely.
ideas. Okay, so the idea that we have a capacity limit for which we're able to receive love, the idea that we have a capacity limit that we're able to experience happiness means that there's this, again, this internal thermostat that we say, oh no, this feels like I'm overjoyed. I'm way too excited. This is quite vulnerable. This isn't what I'm expecting. So let me pull back as if I want to protect myself. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
So we were talking about specifically in this last episode of Married at First Sight. And I was talking about how Amelia and Bennett, this really awesome couple that's like quite jovial all of the time, and they're coming off of their honeymoon and they're going into their new apartment together for the first time, and they are so giddy that it almost looks immature. Like it's quite literally like yes, and like they're just like bursting with excitement. And I was saying that I don't know that I've ever allowed myself to get that excited for fear of getting hurt.
Yes.
And
you're carrying it.
I am
not the white Karen, the black Karen from Married at First Sight. She's like, I don't want to hurt you to hurt me. Therefore, I will keep you at a distance. And therefore, I can't feel love, but I also can't feel pain or hurt.
Exactly. And so the same mechanism, the same door that opens you up to receive hurt is unfortunately the same door that allows you to experience an abundance of joy and happiness. Yeah. And so working through trying to experience that, I think is such a vulnerable experience. Yeah. So I guess what I want to talk about is like, why are we like that as a people, that we're always worried about and concerned about allowing the other shoe to drop or the rug from being pulled from under us, instead of just like experiencing the moment for what it actually is?
Well, I think there's a couple of different answers based on where you are in life. Okay. So take the house, for example, that we were trying to get. Okay. Right. The first go around, months ago, we're getting a house or going through the process. We were feeling that love, that excitement. I mean,
it was still reserved, but yeah.
Yeah. Actually, as I think
it was very
was reserved at that time.
Yeah, it was reserved.
It was reserved.
Yeah, no, it definitely was reserved. Do you think it comes from like childhood trauma? Do you think it comes from like why are we taught this? Like, where do we all get this notion that we can't fully open ourselves up to hurt?
I think it could be not necessarily trauma in the sense of something bad, but the way you were raised. Okay. Right? If you've seen, something happen, like, for example, you move around a lot, right? And you get attached to friends, like we're both military, and those friends move or you move, right? So you never, we didn't have anybody that we grew up with from like birth to high school that we knew. So in some ways, I for sure, your friendships are great and all that stuff, but you temper how close you get to people, because for the majority of your life, after a year or 2 or 3 years, 4 max, one of you guys leaves. Right. So maybe it's just the way you grew up, you know what I mean? Or if you just move around a lot because of poverty, you feel like I can't get too comfortable in a place, because eventually we're going to have to leave, and therefore I don't want to enjoy anything. Poverty, I feel like for me is like, in my family, kind of like our money story is we didn't have a lot. So when we got a little bit, we went on vacation and we lived, because it feel like we're finna be broke again. But until then, we going to Vegas, we going to the convention, we're going on a cruise or whatever. So I feel like that, that can rear its head in that way. You feel like because we were poor before, eventually we're going to go back to being that way. Remember when our biggest income jumps was when we got our taxes back. And for those 6-8 weeks, 2 months, whatever, we was like, this is life, but that's, gonna run out eventually, or you just spend so much that you go back. Like if maybe you saved it, it wouldn't be like that, but you be broke for so long. Once you get a little bit, you spend. It's kind of like the lottery curse. So I think it could be a combination of things. And in relationships, if you got hurt before, your body remembers, like the hot stove, and relationships can be like that. Like, I've been hurt in this manner a couple of times, so let me not go down that path at all, because I don't want to put myself in that situation to experience pain like that again. Or maybe in your case, I remember when we started dating, I was telling you, like, I was like, I remember asking, like, have you been hurt in a relationship before? And you were like, no, but I see my homegirls get hurt. And I was like, how you got walls up from other people's life? Yes. Like, you ain't even experienced heartbreak, but you got walls up like you did. And you were like, because I seen it. You know what I mean? So I think it can be seeing what happened around you, to your family, friends, homegirls, homeboys, or whatever, that can also make you be like, I don't want to go down that path because I've seen where that story ends. Right. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's all I wanted to say.
Did you have something to say, Joshua? I saw your mind tinkering.
For me, I feel like it unpacks a couple ways. A part of me, and this is actually something that came up in therapy, shouts to Talkspace. But one of the things that I struggle with on being able to fully enjoy the excitement in a moment as well is that I used to carry more. I'm working on not carrying as much. Let me speak that into existence. I used to carry some guilt a lot when I would be out, even like on tour, like recently and whatnot. Well, not too recent. Amen. Shouts to Miss Rona. But I would carry a lot of guilt in those happy moments. It would kind of come up, and almost those happy moments would turn into sad moments because I would think about me not being home necessarily, like to have these moments with my immediate family or my little brother, my dad, my mom. I can go down the list, but so it'd always be hard to fully sit in those moments and like appreciate those. But as of this year, it's actually been a little bit better in that sense, to where that was one thing that would definitely limit me from fully appreciating or like being excited about things. And even like talking about like exciting stuff for me, like with work, it always felt like there was something attached to it that I couldn't fully be happy about, like talking about work with like my friends and family back home, because I would always feel, and that was another thing too that also comes up in the book later, but I don't want to spoil too much. But I would say that, as well as in entertainment, we're almost conditioned to not be excited about opportunities, period.
Yes.
Because there are thousands of meetings and maybe 1% of those like come into fruition or something actually activates, aside from the home stuff, like what you guys experience as well.
That's so true. I didn't even think about that. When I auditioned for stuff, I had an audition last week and I killed it, like I usually do. Was like, should have heard back immediately. Yeah. It's Tuesday now.
What's going on?
Maybe didn't get it again. So every time that happens, you're just like, okay, well, it's another thing I didn't get. So, and you hear a lot of actors say that. When they finally book something big, they don't even believe it. Right. You know what I mean? Because, something can come along and take it. I think for me, the upper limit thing of holding myself back is I never want to experience my full joy, because I don't want other people to feel like sad that they're not getting that.
I think that's what Joshua was just saying too.
And then no matter how hard I work and deserve it and put in the time and my craft and saving money, whatever, like it's funny. I was talking to Brendan about this, and I made that Maserati video as a joke, right? Because I was renting it. And Brendan said the reason he thought the reason that it was funny is because I would never make that if I really bought that car. Right. I would never, because I don't want to feel like I'm bragging. Like if I ever get a Maserati, I won't tell anybody. My friends will know that when I drive, but I would never brag like that, because I don't want people who don't have it to be like, oh, look at him, he think he this, he think he that. You know what I'm saying? But to my boys, to Tahir and Tone, I'll be like, your boy out here, you feel me? You know what I'm saying? But part of that is I don't want people who have less to feel like, I have less, and Kev is flaunting this. Like, I never want to come across as flaunting anything, because I was that person. Right. And even when I was watching like YouTube and stuff, I never was like mad. Right. But I did look at my life and be like, not as good as that. And I never want to be the cause of anything like that. But at the same time, what this book kind of helped me to realize is like, why should you not enjoy the life that you have? And he doesn't talk about God much in that book, or at all. But if you add the Christian layer on it, it's like, if God wants you to have a good life and happy life, why not enjoy it? Why do we feel like we have to be like, we put the damper on our, kind of like a suppressor or something like that. Like, to make sure we don't experience it, it like in sound stuff, you put a compressor on it and it prevents you from this from going that high.
That's a great analogy.
You know what I mean? And I feel like we add our own compressors on our life when things are going good, because we feel like, continue this analogy, peaks are dangerous. Right. You peak too much, it starts sounding bad. You have too much fun, maybe it will never be like that again. Those type of things. So I feel like we limit ourselves from experiencing that full thing, so it feels safer to be little.
So I guess the question then is, how do we reconcile this idea of being able to be fully present in our life and fully experience this happiness, this joy, this success? And I feel like, success aside, like I really feel like this is really, for me, thinking about how much I play little in terms of my own happiness. I thought that was like really revelationary for me. Like I was like, oh wait, I kind of was just only ready to talk about my time and my talents. I wasn't really ready to talk about love and happiness. And so I feel like, how do we reconcile this idea of making sure we're not being braggadocious and making people feel bad, but at the same time being fully present and being able to experience happiness in our own lives? And then tied to that, my fear is the moment I'm like, oh man, I'm having a really good time, I am really happy, Why are all these people calling you?
He knows I'm shooting.
The moment the moment I feel like I'm sitting in happiness, my immediate thought after that is something bad must be around the corner. It's the idea where I was talking last week about broke is around the corner. Oh, something traumatic is around the corner. There's no way I can just be this happy, right? There's no way. There has to be something bad.
Feels like, actually, to be fair, I have felt like that too. I'm kind of letting that go because I realize, like, I don't know how much I want to say there. Here's how I'll say it.
Okay.
You can live your whole life like that.
Absolutely.
And then next thing you know, you have led a life of never feeling joy, and then death is around the corner.
Yes.
And what I've always said about like my work and my, propensity to experience life is I never want to sit on my deathbed. I don't even know if I'll be like dying slow. I hope to be like,
what would you hope that?
I have to give you everything. I go away now. But I also might fall off a building. Like, you know what I mean?
Shut up.
But either way, I want to go knowing I gave it my all. Right? But that also can mean, because for me, that always meant just trying everything. Like auditioning and going to Japan or getting this office, like taking my risk. But it can also mean enjoying life fully without fear of what might happen or being broke. And also, Liz, we were broke for a long time.
I know.
Better much longer. Well, so those bills being around the corner, it's not a figment of our imagination.
Yeah.
We were for a long time one car accident, one health scare away from being done. You know what I mean? So I feel like your body, we kind of like trained ourselves to feel like that. And, it's kind of like the elephant in the, that analogy where they tie the elephant and then they take the thing off or whatever, or glass, whatever. Yeah. You've done that for so long, even when those constraints are removed, you still act like that no matter what. Yeah. And through therapy and through thinking about this, I realize it's not ever going to be a light switch off. And you're like, now I don't feel that way. Right. Like me not liking compliments and all that stuff, I'm working on that. But when people still say stuff, I'm like, do not say, please stop. You know what I mean? So, but I would rather be working on experiencing the fullness of life and joy and pain. Yeah. You know what I mean? Because I don't want to be, you have to see Married at First Sight would really help, but Karen might be missing out on a good thing because of fear of the bad thing that happened to you already happened. Right. It's already happened. But you can prevent any good from happening, preparing for another bad thing to happen. Right. And a lot of times we don't let the good things come for fear of what's bad. And now the rest of your life is bad because of one bad instance.
Well, it's not that the rest of your life is bad because you're not walking around here as Eeyore. It's just that you're also not walking around here fully experiencing joy and happiness. So, and it's not that like binary. You're either completely happy or completely sad. It's not that.
You're reserved.
But you definitely go into every situation with a tempered excitement. Tempered is a great word. With a sense that something bad could happen. So instead of opening myself up to really be like excited and happy, I instead prepare for the bad.
And you know what else too? If you live your life like that, it has an effect on the people around you. You're just like, man, she don't be fully happy. Like, the kids could probably feel it too. Your friends and family be like, it's hard. It could be hard to like verbalize, but you feel like, I remember, okay, so just for example, for you, when we
don't give no more of my own examples. Give one of your own examples.
No, I'm just, I have to use you. We used to go on cruises pre-pan. Probably won't be doing that for a while if we ever return. And I used to be like, Liz, you excited about going? You used to be like, no. For months, Japan, everything I'd be super excited about. Like, Jojo, lay down with me. You know how you do, how Jojo did the podcast? And you were like, nope, I'm not excited. I won't be excited until the week of, or
till we're on the plane,
on the plane, right? And now that makes more sense, right? Because something could happen, blah blah blah. And then the crazy thing is, the pandemic actually is a thing of like, and boom, Look what got, tour got canceled, house lost, vacations all gone.
Right.
That can be a confirmation that you weren't wrong. Right. And I think that's going to happen for a lot of people. The last time I was excited about something, the pandemic took it from me. Right. But I don't want to live the rest of my life in tempered joy.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because you don't know how much, longer you have. I don't want to get morose here, but Chadwick Boseman passed last week, and it was terribly, 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 terribly sad. But one thing I found like joy and hope in is like somebody wrote this article. When you're an actor, the actor might know the end of the story, but the character doesn't.
Right.
And Chadwick, he acted in his, most iconic role, Black Panther. All the stuff he did was iconic, but his most iconic role is Black Panther. He acted in that with his diagnosis.
Absolutely.
So in acting, they teach you that you have to act with the information the character has at the moment, right? Not the end. And even though the actor playing the character knows his end, like he knows if he has a likelihood of passing away early, he acted like he didn't.
Right.
And he gave us so much iconic stuff.
That just made me teary-eyed.
Yeah, I didn't want to talk about Chadwick at all, but I also need to feel that.
Oh man,
pain.
that just really made
I already
me
did my
teary-eyed.
crying, and I might have more left. But I found such inspiration in him living every moment as if as if it were his last. And I don't want to.
Almost the opposite. I'm going to challenge the thought
Okay.
right there. I would almost argue that he didn't live every moment as if it was his last. He actually lived in the
moment.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think because living as if it's your last, receiving a diagnosis such as colon cancer means I actually can't do that because I don't have the strength. I actually can't do that because my immune system is not where it should be, and I can't be exposed to, because really going through this with your brother,
You're right.
they wipe your immune system clean. Being around people, you really should not. You should be in the house and be like quarantined to be. And honestly, after you go through chemo, they do quarantine you for months. So like the fact that he was doing these movies and doing these sets, and they were talking about he learned karate and like all of these different things, he's pushing his body as if this diagnosis isn't even a thing.
That's true. And that's, I think, outside of having a terminal illness, we should live like that.
And that's what I'm saying. It's almost finding this balance of recognizing that the end of my story ultimately is that I am going to die, but living my life as if I could die tomorrow, so let me be reserved today is not the same as saying I don't know when my story ends, so let me make sure that I enjoy and soak in every moment that I do have, which I believe is what Chadwick did do.
100%. I actually think what you just explained is a better explanation of how he lived, and his people didn't even know.
Right.
And I think I don't want to harp on
because
Chad too
it
much.
got sad.
Yeah. But there's so much we do. Like this quote, like most people die at 75, but they stop living at 25.
Right.
Like you just I'll just, and we have friends and people we know who have just decided way too early in life, this is it for me.
Right.
I may have the skill, the talent for whatever, life or love, and they're like, but I'm not worthy of that.
Right.
So therefore I won't even go out for it. I won't even try. I won't even indulge in this relationship or this ice cream, whatever the case is. And therefore, they don't experience what all life could be. You know what I'm saying? And for me, I don't want to be reckless, obviously.
Sure.
But I don't want to live so afraid of enjoying life and love that I don't have a full life.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because it can be a sad existence.
Right. One of the things that you said was really important is I wonder how much of this internal thermostat, as the author calls it, is predicated or dictated by our own sense of worthiness. by our
Ooh,
own
yeah.
sense of value, our own sense of what we are deserving. And so if we don't think we are a person of value, a person that's worthy, a person that's deserving, then that's where the self-sabotage comes in. I do believe we all have a sense of worthiness, but obviously, to his point, it only goes to a certain temperature. It only goes to a certain level. It only goes to a certain capacity. Anything beyond that, I feel undeserving. I feel unworthy of. And that's where the self-sabotage comes in. So I almost wonder if the true work is recognizing our true self-value, our true self-worth, our true self, or this idea of being deserving. And that allows us to open up that thermostat to experience more.
That was like a protein bar of information. I mean, that was like chocked full with so much. But I think you want to say something, Josh?
Not yet. I'm in the process.
Man, that is so good. Like, you thought I was worth saving, so you came and changed my life.
You love that song.
You thought I was worth keeping. Like, if you don't see the value in yourself, so you keep me down inside. You thought I was to die for. I'd be crying.
I know, it's a great
so
song.
you sacrifice your life. But if you don't see the, like, kind of take body dysmorphia and anorexia,
Sure.
like, if you don't see that value, anything that you get that feels worth more, you return it.
You return it.
You limit it. It's like, oh no, I couldn't possibly be me. This is a perfect example, right? It's before I loved you, so just go with me there. And I was only in 5th grade, so it doesn't count.
Oh, 5th. I was like, well, how long? Because we've been together a whole long time. Well, I wasn't there, so she wasn't that cute. Keep going.
Prettiest girl in that school, no match for Melissa. Thought she was so cute. Went to a dance. I've told you the story before. Went to a dance. I'm here, you know. I'm doing my thing. I'm in 5th grade at the little dance, you know. You feel me, Josh? I'm out here doing my thing. Can't dance, having a good old time. Prettiest girl in the school comes up. She was black. You know what it is, what TF going on. She's like, you want to dance? And I'm like, me? She's like, yeah, I think you're cute. Do you want to dance? And I was like, me? She was like, yes, I think you're cute. Do you want to dance? And I stood there. The 3rd time, I just didn't say anything. And she walked away. And I went to the bathroom. You know that meme of the guy looking in the mirror? To tell himself stuff? I was like, you are handsome. You deserve to dance with that girl. Never got to dance with her. Right? But I was like, surely she couldn't have been talking about me and missed out on an opportunity to dance with this pretty girl and whatever. And literally from that moment on, I was like, I will never.
Yeah.
If you think I'm ugly, fine. But I'm not going to also think I'm ugly. I got to go out there with I got to be, at least I got to think I look good. You know what I'm saying? Because I wouldn't have had that not happened, I wouldn't have had the confidence to ask you out.
Right.
Because I was like, oh, I'm going after this. Because I remember in 5th grade when I was here with mine. And I missed out on a chance, but sometimes we repeat that same thing. We were presented with something great, and we don't feel like we should have it, so we return it, hand it back. You couldn't possibly have been talking about me, choosing me. This possibly can't be this good. I possibly shouldn't. And the crazy thing is, we don't mind happening to others.
Right.
Our friends, families, people we don't know, we want them to experience life to the fullness of joy and riches and love and children. But for us, we're like, that's not for me. I can't do that. It's okay for them, not okay for me. And I don't feel like we should live our life that way. And I did take that part of the big leap into account. It was just the other stuff was so much more pertinent to me that it was like, it was the way I feel about that part is the way you feel about, you might not feel that way about the other parts of the book. But I also was like, oh, snap. Like I saw that for sure.
Did you want to say something? I saw you playing with your
My
mic.
Postmates is 10 minutes away, so when I come, I got to grab it.
Okay.
You just let me know too. I could grab it. I'm closest to the door.
Okay, I just want to have it in my hand. So
I just want to smell it. Man, listen, I think you made a very, very good point in that sense to where even what Kev, what you were saying of we want others to experience we want others around us to experience it, whatever it is, that joy, that happiness, but for some reason we feel like we might not be able to, or something is definitely keeping us from pushing us to that point. Even piggybacking on what Liz said earlier, I always feel like something is around the corner that's going to sweep that underneath. What for me, it's a mix, like I said, that guilt, also like how we grew up, how I grew up. For me, I was in a school, I was in an environment that my parents wanted me in for fill in the blank of to experience like a better upbringing than they did, but we weren't necessarily financially set to be in that setting. So for me, I was just like, I don't understand why I don't have all these experiences, or even like the house that these kids have, or that these kids grow up in, things. I always felt like I had to go earn it, or I had to go over the top to do something like that. But I always felt like that's just still out of reach.
Right.
So for me, it was almost easy to find like, not necessarily a complacency, but I know that's what they got going on. So I feel like I'm in this lane or in this bubble to where I could work hard and make my money and still save, but that's still them over there. So for me, it was I noticed that I've limited myself in the sense of like maybe not pushing myself to the degree because I feel like that's just still not my lane, even though it's like it's within reach.
Yeah,
anything is within reach like that. But there's still a part of me that always looks at baby Joshy, and the setting that I was around and like how they grew up, and especially now, like one of my really good friends, his parents, I mean, he's still well taken care of, even like being on his own and whatnot. And for me, I'm still like, I literally could not be in that position. If I wanted to ask my parents for that kind of help, like I wouldn't even, just because I mean, I've been known the answer for 27 years. But grateful for them and everything that they've done for me, to say the least. But for me, it's always been like, why isn't that, or like what is stopping me from breaking out of that notion of that ceiling, you know what I mean?
Yep.
And being able to identify some of that stuff in this book has been, I mean, that was a whole different eye-opening. But yeah, you know, a part of that is just being like, I know for a fact that I could get this for myself if it means pushing myself to this limit for a minute and then learning how to step back and relax as well. So, I mean, I don't know. I'm still unpacking that.
I think one of the things that you just said, you were kind of alluding to, that I think we all need to recognize, is that once we've reached that ceiling, that internal thermostat, that full capacity, we self-sabotage.
Yes.
And that looks differently for all of us. So even as Josh was speaking, I started thinking about when we were doing, and I've said this to you guys, but I don't think I've ever said it aloud on the podcast, where we were like, you know, the beginning of quarantine, I had this goal of how many videos I wanted to do. And so I was, you know, pre-filming the House to Home series. We did one yoga challenge. I know people have issues with the term yoga, but we did that like fun couples challenge, and it was like received really, really well. And I had a monetary goal that I wanted to hit, and I hit it. And then like all of these comments started coming in, and I was like, oh no, oh, this too much. I did not expect this. This is a lot. And then it was only further compounded by the troll. So if I have a fear of growing, right? I have a fear of growing and being exposed. I have a fear of growing and feeling like I now have a target on my back. I have a fear of growing and feeling vulnerable to the opinions and just the rude comments of other people. That's a legitimate fear that I have. Couple that with this time where I'm like, I'm going to do the things. Oh, wait, I'm not ready. Oh, crap. I have a troll that won't go away. You know what? Shut down. Everything got to go.
You literally stopped everything. I remember when your Instagram was about to hit a million. Speaking of that, 100,000. Angel was like, I want to post MrsKev.
Yeah.
And you were like, don't you be dare. If you don't, and then you end up hitting 100K without even posting for over a month, what I thought was interesting. But I didn't think about the troll that was bothering you as complete confirmation of all your work. See, this is what happens when I get big. If I get any bigger than this, and let me just stop and shut down everything and go back and work my little job.
Everything, because this is exactly my fear manifested. And if that's what you can hold. And so the problem a lot of times with self-sabotage is we do like to take the one example to confirm our fears instead of looking at all the good things that have come as a result. So even we were just talking about, the pandemic, and we have all of these fears, and it's really easy. I mean, I'm talking to me, okay? Talking aloud, but back to me.
Why y'all in my business though?
That's what I'm saying. I'm in my own business.
I got my 2 cents for this one as well too. So
you do?
Yes,
okay, we're coming back to you.
Go ahead, keep going.
Even when we think about the pandemic, it is so easy for me as the person that's like scared and nervous to like come out on the boat, off the boat, Peter. But what if I sink? Come. And then I sink. I'm like, see, this is why, Jesus. This is.
And you don't take into effect you're the reason why you sunk.
Well, and not just that. I'm not taking into account the 2 or 3 steps that I did take.
Oh!
Hello, somebody.
Yeah, well, shut up.
I actually heard a message preached about Peter. And all we ever think about, I'm going to let you.
That's a word. No, you can't just run by that. You don't even take the steps that you did take. You don't even count it. You don't know the cost of the oil in my alabaster box. Oh, you don't understand. You don't understand.
What? It sound like you're drowning.
That's a mar.
That's a mar.
You don't even count the steps you did take.
One of the things about Peter, his story is often framed about him sinking. It's never framed as the person who actually got out of the boat.
He walked like Jesus, and all we do is talk about him sinking. But we don't even take the steps that he took. But we fix our mouth to say what he sang. But in order to sink, he had to be out walking on water.
Exactly.
Woo!
And none of us are willing to take the risk.
Yellow.
You gonna be tired.
Jesus. Is my butt showing?
No. It wasn't.
That's a word.
Is you done or is you finished?
Nah, that's too good. Oh, that's good, miss.
Go, Joshua.
I can't follow that, Melissa. Man, but adding to the self-sabotage thing, I was even talking to Kev about this morning, because I'm getting ready to finally put some workout in the sense of
new Gonzi prints,
some prints, hopefully a little coffee table book with some photos. But even then, like, I've been thinking about doing that for a couple years, but the self-saboteur inside of me, the self-saboteur inside of me was always just like, oh, you don't own the rights to this person's photo. Like, if I took it at a music festival, like, can I sell that? Like, little things like that would be little walls that I would put up in my own head. Thing. I know people that are doing that today.
And actually, they say you own the image if you take it.
Yeah, I heard that too.
If they're a celebrity.
Yeah.
So stuff like that. A part of me was like, another little wall I put up is like, would people want to see, or if I put up like performance shots of even some of like our friends around us, like Tone, Tahir, Kev, everybody that we been on the road with. Would people want to buy a photo of somebody?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Something like that was kind of weird to me. Or do I need to go out and take photos of like some nature shots that I already have in my head to take, but then I have to go plan a day to go do that. You know what I mean? So that turns into a whole thing.
I want the nature shot as my coffee table book, Joshua.
Okay.
Just
I want the picture of myself.
I want the cover to be black and white, so it matches my aesthetic.
Case study right here. There's a balance.
Yeah. Listen, I'm supporting whatever you want, but I'm just saying.
Fantastic. So those are the things that like I've been thinking of, but I've also stopped myself of as well. Right. You know, and like I've been in your shoes too, list where like I've posted something and it was successful, and then I'm just like, now I have to do more of these. I do not want to do too many more, because what is too many more? I do not know, but what it requires one more, and the one is more than I have right now in my head, and I am done. Okay, goodbye. But so like those are the things that I be thinking of too when it comes, because I mean like Kev's always been a proponent of like post consistently. I'm just like, I don't have enough photos, but be having thousands of photos on my Dropbox I'd be wondering if this one is gonna be up and do as good as the last one did that I posted or whatever. I'd be overthinking stuff like that. But also the 3 steps thing that you brought into the picture with that word, I had a realization then as well, that I've been taking mad photos for arguably 4 to 10 years, 4 more consistently in the sense of like in a professional setting or professional setting, 10 years just messing around because I've always had an interest in photography. But I will say that like those couple big steps have been the past few years where I really put myself out, did a lot of work for free. We good?
Yeah.
In that sense, so like I always will put the current fear ahead of those steps.
Right.
And that's not fair to that limiting. It's not fair to me to limit myself in that sense as well. Forgetting on everything that I've done leading up to those moments and those opportunities to get some of those photos or to get some of those video clips or, man, like it's interesting, you know. So I really just sat in that 3 steps out of the boat word. That's
good.
As Kev was running a quarter mile.
Yes. One of the things that I think all of us are like, we hang on to fear so tightly. Yeah. One of the things that in the book, man, this was such a great analogy. And he said that fear is excitement without breath.
Mm-hmm.
Child, I was like, let me shut this book off, because this is so good right now. And it goes back to the same analogy as the same door that allows happiness is the same door that lets hurt in as well. Mm-hmm. It's kind of the same thing, the same mechanism in your body, or you use the exact same mechanisms to be excited as you do to be afraid. And what he was saying was that what we need to do in our moments of fear is breathe.
Yeah.
Allow to breathe through it and allow that fear to be the fuel to our excitement. And I think that's like the biggest learning with all of us, as we're saying, taking those first 3 steps is about inhaling, exhaling, and just doing it, concentrating on the next step instead of, as Joshua was saying, we get overwhelmed by the idea of the big picture, which is often what I do. And it's like, okay, yes, in the end, I want it to look like this, but what's the immediate step that I can do to get there? And if we don't worry about just the next step in front of us, it's so easy to get overwhelmed by the big picture and therefore end up doing nothing at all.
Absolutely. Sometimes when you're like, you know, take our merch, for example, part of the thing that makes it difficult is like, how am I going to sell this? How am I going to get it to the people? What am I going to do? What if I get a lot of orders? How can I get them out? What will I do? With ShipStation, you don't have to worry about that. Look, when you get something, like I had a sale on Patreon.
You did?
Right? Regular people didn't even know about this.
Right.
Because
shout out to our Patreon.
Yes. Shout out to our Patreon. We were clearing all this stuff out to make room for new products. And I threw it up on Patreon, went to sleep, threw it up in the middle of the night with like shirts were like 12 cents, some 33 cents, 44 cents. Highest thing was $10. Woke up to go post it to the regular world. It was all sold out. Right? Thankfully, with ShipStation, I was able to compile all those sources, all that stuff into one thing and ship them out easily. Without that, I wouldn't even have had the confidence of going to sleep like that. It would have been an upper limit problem to put a sale out like that.
Absolutely.
Because actually going to ship them would have been a difficult thing to do. Listen, ShipStation works with all major carriers, including the United States Postal Service, FedEx, UPS, and even Amazon Fulfillment. So you can compare and choose the best shipping solution for you and your customer. They even offer big discounts on shipping costs. Now any business can access the same postage discounts that are usually reserved for the large Fortune 500 companies. You'll always know that you're getting the best deal. And right now, Love Hour listeners can try ShipStation for free for 60 days when you use the code LOVE.
Love.
Make sure your business is ready to meet the demands of delivery culture. Get started at ShipStation.com today. Click on the microphone at the top of the homepage and type in LOVE.
Love.
That's ShipStation.com. Then enter the offer code LOVE.
Love.
ShipStation.com. Make ship happen.
Boom. That was fantastic. Okay, what else? Let me look at my questions that we have. Do we assess Joshua's statement with the self-sabotage, taking the steps?
Yeah, the thing is, well, we didn't assess it because you said that and then we went to that.
Oh.
What Josh said I realized there's more people like him and you
Absolutely.
than me. Right? In that thing of like, it is safe. Right? It is safe.
Warmers.
It's so
It's warm. It is safe. But safe life gives safe results.
Safe life yields safe results.
We were talking to somebody, I don't remember who it was, and he was saying that nobody becomes a millionaire by saving their money.
Right.
You have to invest.
Right.
You
when
have to
we
take
were at
risks.
Self-Top to Kisses.
That's what it was. It was, yep. You're not going to get there by saving your way. You know, Jeff Bezos made $13 billion in a day. He did not save that.
Right.
You know what I mean? You have to be willing to risk it and lose it.
For the biscuit.
Risk it for the biscuit.
Sorry, that's
and some people are like, I would rather stay here where it's familiar and safe than to risk losing something and I don't know what will happen. And sometimes, you know, you could be so close to enjoying that thing. Like you literally have 99.0%. You know, we're working on a business venture, Melissa and I, and we literally were having a meeting. We were just like, you know, at some point we're either going to do this or we're not. Like you want to qualify and quantify every single thing and work out every single scenario. But the truth of the matter is at some point you're going to have to go. We literally did everything we could plan to move to LA. But at some point you got to quit your job, pack up your house, fill the car up and drive.
And I think the trouble is that we can come, especially for people that are fearful, is you get into what do they call paralysis paralysis, however it goes. Where you're trying to think of every possibility and ensure you have like a plan for that you don't just take the step.
Yes.
And I think that's one. Honestly, it can be, that could be self-sabotage.
Have you
that's
seen
self-sabotage.
Jamie Foxx and Tom Cruise?
Yes.
Jamie Foxx was that
character.
taxi driver who had that postcard of what he wanted his business to be.
Right.
And what he told himself, shouts to Joshi, I'm preparing to launch this business.
Right.
But what you're really doing is planning so much that you never actually start.
Right.
I got to have enough money to do this. What if this goes wrong? I got to have the permits. I got to have enough for a fleet of cars. I got to have all this stuff. And Tom Cruise is like, actually, you're not going to do nothing. You're going to sit here and drive this taxi till you die.
Procrastination is also a form of sabotage. So we're all on the same page.
And also preparation. Telling yourself you're preparing for it. Josh, I need 100 more pictures. He has literally thousands. This is not a shot, but it is.
No, it is.
Literally thousands already. But I need more.
Right. The thing is, okay, I'm going to throw myself under the bus with you, Joshua, so you could move over.
I'm not going to throw myself.
It's warm in here.
Yeah, it's definitely warm. It's my favorite spot under the bus. The other thing, research. One of the biggest, I realize, forms of worthiness I think that I struggle with is that I over research in order to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about. In order to prove that I'm worthy of talking about this topic, it's not because of what I think, because she's no expert. But what I do have is the information of the experts that I've researched. And if you're going to argue with them, then I don't know what's wrong with you because you have no credentials. But you definitely can argue with me because I also have no credentials. And so that's how I kind of like ward myself against that. And that can be, I don't place value on my own experience to warrant me having a conversation that doesn't necessarily have to be backed by, because half the time what I'd be saying be backed by experts too anyways. But aside from that, I don't always feel like my experience is enough. My words hold enough weight. So I need to have that stamp that says, but it's backed by this expert that has all of this research. It's backed by what I'm stating is undergirded by these people that have done have the knowledge behind it. So I think we all have that like form of self-knowledge, but I'm gonna get us up under the bus. The flip side of that though is finding the balance between reckless behavior. Is finding the balance between doing something, flying out of the nest, and you haven't prepared at all. So all you finna do is plummet to the ground. Well, that's dumb. So like finding the balance between those two, I think we're so afraid of like, but what if I plummet? that we don't do anything. And then there's also those people that are like, I'll just figure it out on the way down. No, you finna die. So it's like finding that balance, I think, is the difficult part.
Yeah. And also in life, there's not a whole bunch of balance. You know, the Frederick's Family Manifest Destiny, which I don't know if I want to call it that anymore.
Someone said faith versus foolishness.
Yeah.
That's it.
But what happens is you'll let other people do it with less information than you have.
100%.
And they will have success.
Absolutely.
Or less talent.
There's so many people who are more talented than me who are just, but what if I do it and people don't like it or think I'm copying or think I'm whatever. Perfect example for me. I wanted to do the stand-up comedy show, Keep Your Distance. I always want to give people a platform. If you're a stage crew member, you know how I rock. I love giving people a platform. My fear was, do I let these comedians cuss? Because I'm not known for cussing. And people are going to be mad that I cuss or that they cuss, right? And what happens is, just like your troll, my worst fear, Christians come up in the email. Luckily, Melissa, I don't have all the emails that are public. So Melissa's like, I don't even let you see some. But some people sneak through. And it's kind of like the troll for you.
Right.
It's like people emailing and saying, you were bigger than this. I trusted you. No, even if it's big and bold, this is not that. And I thought about it. If I were to get a role in a movie or a sitcom and I'm playing a character and I got to do, Megan Good's a Christian, Yvonne, they do stuff that their roles aren't Christian, I would still have the same issue. You shouldn't even be doing this. Your brand was built on this, blah, blah, blah. So you will let the opinions of others prevent you from doing what you know is right, what you feel is right for you, maybe even what God has for you, because other people don't get it. But since the beginning of time, people following what God said, a lot of people didn't get it. Other Christians thought you were wrong.
Right.
So I'm not even saying this is God's work, like I'm saving souls, but I am giving people a platform to do what they love, and I feel like it's right for me. And if you don't like that, that's also okay.
Right.
Because if I were to sit and read those emails and then just shut it down, I could be hurting other people whose opportunity was tied to me. Should I give off this information?
No, you should not.
Well, there are some things that are happening that we're able to do that I wouldn't be able to do if I didn't take that step.
Right.
You know what I mean? So I just don't want to live like that. And I'm okay with people, also therapy. I'm okay with people saying I don't like you anymore. Yeah. And I won't support you. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
Because I like me. Toby sent me a video about this and she said, man, it hit me in the hardest way. She was like, I had to leave what people thought of me because if I lived in that, I would not ever become what God wants me to become.
Sure.
And if I sat and listened to what you thought of me, but what if I don't think that?
Right.
And now you think, now Kevin's doing what I think he should be doing.
Right.
But it's tormenting me.
Sure.
So I'll do what I think and make sure I like me. It's a bonus if you like me, but it's not a necessity.
Right.
I like Facebook. If you like this post, great. But I still feel this way. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of how this is materializing for me, Kevin.
Did you have something?
One of the upper limiters that I identified with was Outshining.
Ooh, that Outshining hit me tough.
That
Josh.
thing hit me like a left, like.
Wait, I haven't got there, so explain.
Oh, snap.
Oh, you haven't got there?
No, I haven't.
Just
explain.
Are we covering the book or is this?
Yeah.
Like a
No,
part
feel
two?
free. Feel free.
Okay,
Talk freely.
And it tied into the guilt a little bit too. So I noticed two examples. One, like I touched on earlier, something that I don't necessarily feel the complete joy in every single time a conversation comes up is when somebody close to me asks how work is going. I always tend to minimize things that I'm doing.
Me too.
Just so I don't, one, come off a gloat perspective. Because for me, I know it's their big things, that they're exciting things, the things that I should be overly excited to share it with. But sometimes I'll understand that, or I'm understanding that sometimes the perspective is they're just curious and they're excited for me as well. But a part of me still is just like, I know I'm thinking about everything that I missed because I missed this birthday because I was traveling. I missed this whatever reunion because I was traveling. So I always think about stuff like that. So that's why there's that guilt that's attached to it. And I always feel like I have to minimize the good things, so I don't come off as, one, I'm boasting about it, or two, gloating about it, or I don't want to feel like I'm trying to outshine people around me and whatnot. So another example that I experienced with that, I got 2 pairs now of some exclusive sneakers that came out, but not everybody who was supposed to get them received them.
Okay.
The company made an error. I'm not trying to air out everybody, so I'm just gonna say the company made an error. And I was one of the fortunate ones. Amen. So a part of me was like, I don't want to flex these because I don't want to make it seem like, aha, I got them, you didn't.
Right.
But I put those 3 steps on the water to get to this position to be able to make this list.
Absolutely.
Years. You know, like this was one of the reasons why, this was one of the blocks that fell over that led to my exit strategy from my previous employer.
Right.
You know, so part of those sacrifices that were made then are what put me in a position to now be,
to reap the benefits.
Yeah, to reap the benefits now. So it's still something that I'm working with, or starting to let go, I should say, because my therapist, and that's just ironic that came up as well in this book, because that was in line with something I'm working on in therapy, is letting that thought go of just feeling guilty in the sense of like not being fully happy to experience that shining moment for me. And be like, I am shiny here. I'd been working on this for a long time.
Absolutely.
I don't know why we struggle with the spotlight being on us in recognizing our own accomplishments. And I think that's what the hardest struggle is like, you think when you're a kid and you're like, gold star, and you're just like, yes, look at me. And then maybe, you know, an adult figure is like, don't do that, they didn't get it. So it's kind of that same idea of like
JoJo scoring those goals.
Yes.
And being like, when he used to do that,
I know.
And we'd be like, Joe, you know, he's like, remember one time we told Joe score this goal and he was running back. He was like, it's too easy. It's too easy.
Hilarious.
And we were like, Joe, you can't say that. He was like, why? They shouldn't make it easy to score on them. Why? That's not my
kid.
I don't put that on me.
Why? Don't put that on me. If I shouldn't have scored 5 goals.
Yeah.
The fact that I scored 5, it is too easy. Usually I score 1 or 2. You know what I mean? But you know, we told him, hey, this is how, you know, this is this, and he's like, oh, okay. So now when he scores, he just, you know, back in the day when he played soccer, but he used to be a jerk, in the best way. You know what I mean? So, but yes, I do think that it's like, you know, it's like participation trophies. Yeah. You got first, you got second, but you don't want third and fourth to feel bad, and fifth and sixth should get something.
Here's the hustle award.
Here's the hustle award. But in life, don't be like that.
It doesn't. But then it makes those people who do put in the work not want to shine their light so as brightly as it could. And I think we have to, it's so funny that the way we internalize people and their interpretation of us versus how we see other people. So if you see someone else and their light is shining bright, you'll probably clap and be genuinely happy for them. But yet when the light is on you, you assume people are looking at you like she's just being braggy, she's just showing off,
or
she's
she
just
doesn't
doing
deserve
that,
it.
or she versus them maybe having that same sense of happiness for you that you would have for them. And the fact that we don't allow that to be a transfer of feelings, it just speaks to how we feel about ourselves.
Yes.
I definitely experienced that. I remember even when I worked at Boeing, and even just in my job period, and people would ask what I would do, one of the first things I would say is, oh girl, it's so simple, it ain't nothing, don't take no rocket science, like it's really not that difficult. Instead of just simply stating what they didn't ask you how hard it is, they didn't ask you, because I would always feel like, oh, you work in the aerospace industry, we made really good money, like, oh, that must be, and I don't want people to feel like I'm bragging on them, so let me like downplay what I do. Girl, just answer the question. There's so much assumption in my answer about how I think you feel, instead of just answering your question at face value. And that's often what we do. And it has more to do as a reflection of how we feel about ourselves than the person asking the question of us.
Projecting.
It's projecting.
I saw this thing on Twitter the other day. Said, just remember, when most people comment on you, it's mostly projection.
Wait, what?
When people comment.
Oh, comment.
Yeah, it's mostly projection. That's so interesting because I was saying the same thing at Boeing, but for a very different reason. My job actually was so simple, even like somebody could do it.
I mean, it's really
Your job was harder though.
But it really wasn't difficult. But the point even beyond that is, you know, I always knew I wanted to go to college. I went to college. I got a academic scholarship. I was a smart girl. I did my work. I put the time and work in order to qualify to get a job at Boeing with no prior aerospace experience. That's something that I should be able to speak and stand in that, not in a sense of let me look down on you, but just in a sense that yes, I've put the work in to put myself in this position, and there's nothing to be ashamed of or something to minimize.
That's kind of how I'm feeling about my stuff too. I didn't get anything that I have illegitimately. I ain't tricked nobody. I ain't, like people talk about Jeff Bezos. They always go to like the factories and people jumping off the thing. Like I don't even have that.
Sure.
Like I practiced stand up. I treated people fairly. I, got good at my job. Whatever the case is, there's no reason for me to be like, oh, just this little bit of bread,
right.
Go eat this bread, And on the other side, I'm not have to be out here being like, oh, I'm better than you, but I am good at my job. I have worked really hard for a long periodically time, and I've done what I needed to do. And to reap the benefits of that, that shouldn't make you feel away because I didn't do anything that anybody else couldn't do.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm aware of where God was, blessing in my life, but like, we don't even have the luxury of rich parents or stuff. Like literally, I'm student loan debt too, got the Corolla. Things like that. Part of the reason that I could probably get the Maserati now is because I had the Corolla for 5 years more than I needed to have.
I know. That's bad.
Ben should have got rid of the Corolla.
I know, but you know what the other thing is, and then we can almost close this out.
Yeah, because that Postmate over there.
Okay. The last thing is that I often don't think we credit, and not just us, I'm saying people in general, that we do credit the effort and the decisions we took in order to get in the, and
For
listen,
sure.
I want to say this because people will be like, we were talking about the kite and the string, and people were like, don't forget God is the wind. To me, God is an assumption in my life and everything that I do. So even if I don't call it out, just assume that I recognize.
Don't forget God is the wind.
I most certainly recognize the presence of God. And even as I was telling the Boeing story, I had 0 prior aerospace experience. I always say when things don't make sense, God is the only thing that makes sense. I've always said that. So when things don't line up and I don't understand, like just know I'm always crediting God for that. For everything, but those moments. I say all that to say that we lived very small. We lived very humbly before. We stayed in that old raggedy house.
We stayed in the raggedy Reseda.
But what it allowed us to do was pay off debt outside of student loans. It allowed us to save some money. It allowed us, things that were important to me, starting a college fund for the boys, making sure that there was money in there. Those were things that were important to me that then allowed me to now say, okay, now what are some things that I want in my life? What are some things that maybe we could splurge on or do differently, or you know what I mean? It allows us, I don't know about all that. But the point is that even the people that are listening to this, don't discount the good decisions you've made that allowed you to be in a position that you're in today. And I think a lot of times we discount that, and that's part of the reason why we feel so undeserving, that we don't reflect on the journey that allowed us to get to this very moment.
Peace be the journey.
Don't discount your journey, Joshua.
The hour is far spent. If this is you,
come.
Amen.
Hey.
Praise team, if you would, just come. Live your full life.
Yes.
Don't minimize what God has maximized.
Oh, yes.
Don't compress a blessing. Amen. The Bible says this.
What does it say? Come on, tell us.
The blessings are pressed down, shaken together, and running over. You've got to be an open vessel so God can fill you so much that your blessings explode out all over the place.
I thought you were going to say exceed.
Now unto him who is able to do exceeding abundantly above all you can ask or think. Why limit God?
Why?
God wants more for you, but you decide, God, this is too much. You know what, God, you tripping. This is enough. I'll take it from here. why limit God?
Yes.
If he wants more for you.
Okay.
Because it's going to take you accepting what God has for you. Come on in here. You gave me my
I was singing Lord Prepare Me.
Lord, prepare me that to be a sanctuary. Come on, choir. Full and holy, tried and true.
I can't sing, so I'm not gonna.
With thanksgiving. Yeah, yo, bosh. I'll be a living.
Come on, drums.
Sanctuary for you.
Wait, but there's another
if
one.
I'm holy.
Wait, what's the one about the vessel?
Oh, that's the song I was thinking.
Oh, what is it?
I'm available to you.
Oh, actually, don't sing that. I don't
You
feel like
be
crying.
crying.
I don't feel like crying.
Lord, I'm available to you. I be crying.
Lord.
My life I give to you. To do what you want. Use
No, I
me,
thought
Lord.
to say what you say.
To show someone the way and enable
this
me
is the part.
to say my storage is empty. And I am available. My
that's
story. That's what they. I am empty. I didn't available for you. You can use me, God. I'm empty. Even when I didn't sin that week, did they sing that? I was like, let me just go on up to this altar, make sure I'm good.
There's always some stuff that can be removed so you could be available. Fill me up, Lord.
Fill me up.
Lord have mercy. Okay, anything else?
Nah, cuz.
Joshua, closing remarks. Did you save your soul?
I like how you said just assume that the Lord is attached to it, kind of like a signature in an email.
Yes.
Yeah.
God's in the signature, man. Don't
God
have
is
it.
in the
God is in the
signature.
signature every time.
I love that.
Yes. Anything else? That was
I
good,
am
Joshua.
hungry.
That's it. That's
All right. Thank you guys so much for joining us. I hope this episode was encouraging to you. We said a whole bunch, and I hope you're able to get something out of it. Join us next week for the Love Hour, same time, same back channel. And Kev's going to go eat. Okay, bye.